right. Welcome to the Bitcoin Show. I'm Scott Dedels, and this week, in place of Jim, who is abroad on a international trade mission to Japan, we've got special guest, CEO of Bitcoin Well, Adam O'Brien. Adam, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks so much. I think I have some big shoes to fill, so looking forward to chatting about Bitcoin.
It's perfect timing too. You and I, in conjunction with our companies, Blockwards and Bitcoin Well, we are co-hosting an event in the Kelowna area on Tuesday night, a week from today, or next week, and that event is called Demystifying Bitcoin. It is kind of going to be, a high-level overview of everything you'd need to know about Bitcoin going into 2026, and yeah, we're going to be having that event at the Innovation Center. There are still some tickets for sale. And Adam, you guys are doing something really cool for people who do purchase a ticket.
Yeah, so I think that honestly, owning and understanding Bitcoin in 2026 is probably going to be one of the most important decisions people make. And so I think the event's well timed. And if you buy a ticket, tickets are $20. You're also going to get $20 into your Bitcoin Well account. So hopefully an easy way for people to be educated and be able to, learn a little bit more about Bitcoin and then also walk out with some Bitcoin. I'm very passionate about people. I learn with my hands. And I think that most people, it's easy to want to learn about Bitcoin, but $20 in Bitcoin is going to completely change your paradigm and completely change the way that you think about it, maybe even incentivize you to learn a little bit more about what it is. And so super excited that people are going to be able to come in and walk out, come in with no Bitcoin and then walk out with at least $20 in Bitcoin. And so that's super cool.
I was thinking about this, and you can't often say, it's like the event is like it's a cost neutral event, but that's actually not true. If you understand Bitcoin appreciating over time, this may be actually the only event you will ever go to where you could make money passively just as a result of having gone. Like, I just actually think you can't beat it.
Dude, and this reminds me of, so I've been in the Bitcoin scene since 2013. And I had Bitcoin ATMs in Alberta, and I used to take my friends for lunch at the restaurant where the ATM was, and I would put $20 into the Bitcoin machine and give it to them just to show them how it worked, and of course try to convince them to buy Bitcoin. And they've since lost it or they didn't care about it at that time or whatever. And today, in 2013, Bitcoin was worth anywhere from $200 to $600. And so it's really hilarious that had they kept that $20, it would be worth thousands of dollars today. And to your point, I don't know about many events that you can go to, for free or pay $20 and walk out with $20 in a different form, and then have that $20 turn into thousands 10 years later. So yeah, good insight on that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night. I think we have about 20 or 25 tickets left right now, so seating is limited. So if you're watching, I really want to encourage you to go to the link that will be in the show notes and get yourself a ticket. It is going to sell out, and it's going to be really good. Like, we've also got Pravada Wines that are winemakers from Kamloops that are Bitcoiners, and Bitcoin enthusiasts will be providing some refreshments for the event, and lots of people in the local Bitcoin community, as well as you and I. So guaranteed to be a good time.
Yeah, man. I think anytime you're with people that are engaged about the future of technology, especially financial technology like Bitcoin, there's always some amazing brains in the room, and it'll be good conversation had by all.
I was, you mentioned the price of Bitcoin in 2013. So I was looking this up actually before the show, because we are going to talk a little bit about price like we normally do on the show. And so it's American Thanksgiving right now, and the Bitcoin price is, I don't know exactly what it is, something around 92,000 US dollars. And 5 years ago, that number was $18,000. And 10 years ago, it was $328.
Wow.
So yeah, I always say, it's funny because this is just, as you know, part of how Bitcoin goes is the micro obsession with the minutia of price movements that happen in periods of 15 minutes or weeks, and it completely obscures for almost everybody the totally absurd straight up to the right chart. If you zoom out far enough, It is literally just going straight up. And then we find ourselves, trying to figure out, it's almost like trying to debate about why it's raining today and it wasn't raining yesterday. It's
And like, is it going to rain in January in 2047? It's like, yes, it will. And I think to your point, that short-term price horizon is really a symptom of a broken money that we've all kind of has been forced down through us. And when you think about the way that Bitcoin allows us to look at financial markets through a bit of a different lens, I think it's really fascinating. And to your point, looking at 5-year horizon, 10-year horizon, I think we're going to be laughing about a time just like we laugh now of, oh, what, you were worried when Bitcoin crashed to $600? Like, look at where it is now. And in 10 years, when our kids are laughing at us saying, you were worried when Bitcoin crashed to $90,000. Like, imagine being able to buy Bitcoin for so cheap. I think it's really going to be amazing. I think the biggest problem Bitcoin has now is the unit bias problem, because it's too expensive, because it's looked at and perceived as being too high. The price is too high. When 5-10 years ago, it was like, oh, the price is too low. And it's like, well, make up your mind, general markets. Is the price too high or is the price too low? And are we always going to be debating this minutia, as you called it, when we know we've got this financial technology that is completely changing the game and changing the rules of traditional financial markets?
Yeah, it's I agree with you, and I think people will be mad almost in the future that it's the same way, because this is something that already also happens right now. People who start buying Bitcoin realize that they had every opportunity, the same as anyone else, to be buying Bitcoin when it was $300, and for whatever reason they chose not to. And that's exactly what happened to me. I moved to Kelowna in 2011, and I was living down on Ellis Street. And at the time, there was a Bliss Bakery that's opposite. There's a coin store on the opposite side of the road that was at that time selling Bitcoin. They had a Bitcoin sign in the window. And I used to
Wow.
go to that Bliss every morning for my coffee and look at that sign and think, what kind of an idiot would want to buy Bitcoin? And yeah, everybody has that kind of story. Obviously, yours is a lot shorter because you started buying Bitcoin very early, but
I
I
was
think
just
as
young and dumb and broke anyway, so it didn't matter. I I had nothing to lose. have you have you had though? I've had friends, and I don't know how genuine it was. I think every good joke has a little bit of genuine feeling behind it. But have you had friends almost accuse you of not trying hard enough to get them into Bitcoin? Earlier on for them. I've had friends, they like, you told me about it in 2015, but why didn't you convince me? Or why didn't you hold me down and force me to spend $1,000? And I was like, well, I wasn't going to force you into spending your money. But have you had friends, giving you a hard time for not telling them to buy Bitcoin a little bit more firmly?
Yeah, and I think and that's yes, and then that's part of the what you were talking about, the unit bias now, where I think people will often think the price is high now because it's higher than it was before. And that's
Right.
this weird thing that just will go on forever. But I mean, honestly, I am trying to do that right now. I am trying to get everyone I know to come on Tuesday night to Demystifying Bitcoin. And a lot of people will pass. I'm like, I shared an Instagram story. I'm like, I know you've all seen this and none of you are buying a ticket. Like, this
Yeah.
is your
Instagram
opportunity.
has the analytics. I can see who is
No,
looking at this.
yeah. And I think this is kind of another one of the funny things about Bitcoin, right? Is like this is something that I think people like you and me want to do because we think it's important and it's beneficial and helpful for other people. Like, that's it, and that's really it, and that's how Bitcoin goes. Is when you understand what this thing can do for you, why it works differently than other things that you might do with your money instead. um, Usually people feel some kind of a compulsion to help other people understand that. And that's exactly what's going to be going on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think it's so people have this misconceived notion that Bitcoiners, I've been called a Bitcoin booster or a Bitcoin pumper or something like this. And it's like, well, you just want people to buy Bitcoin so your holdings go up. And it's like, sir, if I had that much market power, I don't think I would be, running an event for 150 people. I would be on a super yacht somewhere if I could move markets with my influence. However, even ignoring that, it is much deeper. Bitcoin is so much more than just a financial journey. It's really a philosophical journey behind what is money, how how the way that you earn money, the way that you save money is so closely tied to like real value and a value that can drive through generations. And again, it goes with that time horizon that I think we're kind of forced into a very short time horizon. But even with my business, like if you're a business owner out there, oftentimes businesses are forced to look at, like, Bitcoin Well is publicly traded, and lots of my publicly traded peers are forced down quarterly and 12-month cycles. But Bitcoin Well plans in 4-year cycles because, we just work with that longer time horizon. And since shifting our time horizon into a 4-year cycle at Bitcoin Well, we've had enormous amounts of success, and the planning is easier, the filtering is easier, the decision making is easier. And I think that for we as humans, whether we're business owners or we're part of our family or just as individuals, really being able to zoom out and think about the future in a meaningful way is very, very important. And so looking forward to diving into, of course, the economics of Bitcoin, but also just the philosophical side of Bitcoin. And, there's a deeper layer to our money that I think is important to understand, and looking forward to diving down that topic as well.
So you're also, maybe just to highlight a little bit of the agenda, you're planning to speak to sovereignty and sort of like the different applications or things that Bitcoin can do for you. Do you want to just maybe give yourself a shameless 2-minute plug? And
Okay, well, I'll try to be shameless, but we'll see. I think that, so yeah, kind of like, everyone looks at Bitcoin and the first thing that comes up is the price. The first thing that comes up is the candles, whether they're green or they're red on that given day. And I think that price is a big piece of Bitcoin, of financials. But I think that more important, it is that sovereignty piece. And when you think about, why we save, the reason we save is because we don't want to trade our time in the future for work, right? I don't want to be 75 years old and being forced to clock in and clock out to a job. And so what I need to do is I need to work a little bit extra today and then save that money so I can have that time in the future. And we're kind of just, looking to move the value that we create with our time into the future, 50 years down the road. And with a dollar that is, perpetually losing value, even like designed to lose value, and I don't think that's going to be inflammatory to anyone, whether it's 2 or 8%, your dollar is designed to lose value at 2 or 8, anywhere from 2 to 8% per year. And in real numbers, maybe even closer to 15. And so when you think about it in that way, it really is quite perverse that we are, trying to save money in an environment that is guaranteed to lose value. And when you think about the effects that has on our psyche from the standpoint of, wow, my time is getting less and less and less valuable as I get older and older. When in fact, the opposite happens. If you look at how much smarter you're getting, how much stronger you're getting, how much more experience you have, which leads to better decision making, our time gets more and more and more valuable. And so I think it's really cool to think about Bitcoin in that way. And then the secondary effect to that is just the freedom that comes along with that. Obviously, we talk about financial independence, and lots of people have used real estate in the past to be financially independent rather. And I think that what that really means is not having to trade your time for money. Having enough savings, having enough of a tool, of a financial tool to have true ownership of your time. And I think that if you think about, our grandparents had gold, our parents had real estate, and I think our generation has Bitcoin to have that type of control over our time. And so I'm going to just talk about my story and my journey, the freedom of our time, and I think why that's so crucial to us as individuals. And then just highlight the different ways that Bitcoin protects the sovereignty, protects that freedom. Because I think we're seeing right now, especially right now in BC, we're seeing that your house as a savings tool maybe isn't that great if it ends up being, if the titles end up going somewhere that you didn't expect. We're seeing all of a sudden that maybe the money in your bank can be frozen. And I think that's, as Canadians, as residents in British Columbia and Kelowna, we should really be looking at this as serious signals. And even if you don't think it'll happen to you, it's probably good to understand what's happening to other people so that you can really figure out how to protect, whether it's you or your children or your grandchildren, whoever it is in your bloodline that you hope to be leaving assets down to. It's like, how can I best protect the future generation to benefit from the value that I have created today? And I think that at the highest level, obviously I'm biased in saying that Bitcoin is the best tool to do that, but I think that at the highest level, that's going to be, one of the things that I'm hoping to really dive into on Tuesday. And then always, like, Q&A is my favorite part of any Bitcoin event. As someone who's been doing this for nearly 15 years, I have been asked every question under the sun, and I have yet to be stunned by a question. And so I really encourage people to come and stun me with questions, ask the hard ones. I promise if you are asking a hard question, somebody else in the room is also asking that hard question. And I think that this will be a good, hopefully relatively intimate environment to be able to discuss the hard things about Bitcoin, skeptics and non-skeptics alike, to hopefully dive into the objectivity that Bitcoin is.
Yeah, that's great. Great teaser and summary, Adam. I couldn't agree more. I think that for the listener, if any of what Adam just said sounded like complete gobbledygook or nonsense, then you're exactly the person who needs to come, because this is the whole point of it. I think that as we head into 2026, this is something that really everybody should spend certainly some time learning about. Almost everybody is kind of technically unqualified to have an opinion on Bitcoin, or a strong one, and this is going to be a really amazing opportunity for a general audience to interact and have some, like you said, we're going to make sure there's plenty of time for questions and get a live dialogue happening with a group.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone spend the time to research Bitcoin that has come out saying, "Oh yeah, I was right," and it's bad. Most people that I've talked to, anyways, and maybe there's some recency bias there, but I don't think there is, that spend the time to research and understand how Bitcoin works, why it works, how it interacts with our existing financial system, how it interacts with our existing monetary kind of values. When you understand how Bitcoin works and you understand those things, you're going to leave owning Bitcoin, and you're going to leave wanting to own more Bitcoin. And I think the faster you do that, the more you are rewarded in the long term. And so I would definitely encourage the audience to do themselves a favor. Either understand Bitcoin sooner so that you can, jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, and acquire Bitcoin accordingly, or help Scott and I out, because if we're wrong, then I want to know as fast as possible. So definitely, if you're going to come and disprove Bitcoin, please do, so that I can quit dedicating the prime years of my life towards this financial asset. If you're going to prove me wrong, and all the research that I've been doing over the last decade and a half. So definitely encourage everyone to come out, skeptic or otherwise. This is not some sort of Bitcoin rah-rah event. This is just, my experience in Bitcoin, the research I've done, portrayed down to an audience, followed by Q&A, and really excited to do that.
So we've shown it a few times. The tickets are available on Eventbrite, and as I mentioned, I don't know, there's somewhere between 20, 30 left. We'd love to see you out there, and the link will be in the show notes. Adam, appreciate you coming on. I'm super excited to get together with you on Tuesday night, and I know it's going to be a great crowd. And maybe we'll wrap the show there.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me, and hopefully we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
All right, catch you next time.
Hi, Scott. We're now out.